What if I told you that some of the largest reptiles on Earth live on a tiny group of islands in the middle of the ocean? We're talking tortoises the size of small cars, lizards that swim like dragons, and animals that seem like they evolved in their own world. So, why are animals on the Galapagos Islands so big? The Galapagos Islands are located about 1,000 kilometers off the coast of Ecuador, and they're one of the most isolated places on Earth. That isolation is the key to everything. When animals first arrived on these islands millions of years ago, they were completely cut off from the mainland. No new predators were constantly arriving, no major competition was being introduced, and the animals that made it there had to adapt to survive in a very specific environment. This led to something called island gigantism, where certain animals evolved to become much larger than their mainland relatives. One of the biggest reasons for this is the lack of predators. On the mainland, being small is often an advantage. Smaller animals can hide, escape quickly, and survive with less food. But on the Galapagos, for millions of years, there were almost no natural predators hunting these animals. So instead of staying small and fast, many species evolved to grow larger. Take the giant tortoises, for example. They can weigh over 250 kilograms and live for more than 100 years. Their massive size isn't a disadvantage there. It actually helps them survive. When nothing is trying to eat you, being big becomes a benefit instead of a risk. Another reason animals grow larger is because it helps them survive in harsh conditions. The Galapagos environment can be tough. Food isn't always available, and there can be long dry periods. Larger animals tend to have slower metabolisms, which means they use energy more efficiently and can survive longer without food. Giant tortoises can go months without eating or drinking, which gives them a huge advantage. Marine iguanas, which are the only sea-going lizards in the world, can even shrink their body size during times when food is scarce and grow back when conditions improve. That ability to conserve energy is a major reason why being larger works so well in this environment. There's also less competition for resources compared to the mainland. On continents, animals are constantly competing with dozens or even hundreds of other species for the same food, space, and shelter. But on isolated islands like the Galapagos, there are fewer species overall. This means that animals can expand into roles they wouldn't normally occupy. A species that might stay small on the mainland because of competition might grow larger on the islands because it now has access to more resources with fewer rivals. This idea is part of a broader concept called island biogeography, which explains how isolation, size, and resource availability shape the evolution of species. This is also a perfect example of evolution in action. When Charles Darwin visited the Galapagos Islands in 1835, he noticed that animals on different islands looked similar but had small differences. These differences helped them survive better in their specific environments. Over many generations, traits that improved survival, like larger body size in certain species, became more common. This process is called natural selection. So over millions of years, animals that were slightly bigger and better adapted to the island conditions survived and passed those traits on, eventually leading to the giant animals we see today. Genetics also plays a role here. In small, isolated populations, certain traits can spread more quickly, simply because there are fewer individuals. If a trait like larger size appears and gives even a slight advantage, it can become dominant much faster than it would in a large mainland population. This is sometimes referred to as the founder effect, where a small group of individuals essentially sets the genetic tone for future generations. But here's something interesting. Not all animals on islands get bigger. Some actually become smaller, a process called island dwarfism. It all depends on the animal and the environment. If food is very limited, or if being large becomes a disadvantage, species may evolve to be smaller instead. It's all about balance within the ecosystem. In the Galapagos, many herbivores and reptiles became larger because it helped them survive, while other animals stayed small or adapted in different ways. The islands themselves are also very unique. They sit where different ocean currents meet, bringing both warm and cold water. This creates a mix of ecosystems and food sources that you don't usually find in one place. Because of this, animals evolved in ways you don't see anywhere else. Marine iguanas learned to swim and feed underwater. Some birds lost the ability to fly because they didn't need to escape predators. Many animals became incredibly calm around humans because they never evolved to fear them. Even behavior changed along with size. Animals on the Galapagos often show very little fear, which is unusual compared to wildlife elsewhere. This is because they evolved without needing to constantly watch for threats, allowing them to focus more on feeding, resting, and conserving energy. All of these factors, extreme isolation, lack of predators, reduced competition, genetic effects, limited resources, and unique environmental conditions work together over millions of years to shape the animals of the Galapagos. So why are animals there so giant? Because in that environment, being bigger helped them survive. And when survival favors size, evolution follows. The Galapagos Islands are basically a living example of what happens when nature is left to experiment over long periods of time, and the result is one of the most fascinating ecosystems on the entire planet. If you think this is crazy, just wait until you see what evolution has done in other parts of the world.